Hello?
Miss Lestico, guess what time it is?
What time?
It's time for math!
Yay!
Hey, first grade, welcome back to math. That's right, we are still learning about those 3D shapes. Yesterday, I remember we talked about 2 of our 3D shapes, and today we're going to add 3 more into our list. Well, Miss Lestico, what's our target? Oh, well, our target is the exact same as yesterday. It is I can identify 3D shapes, their attributes, and real-life examples. And I remember, Miss Lestico, we learned about 2D shapes. Those were our flat shapes. And we looked yesterday that 3D shapes are our solid shapes. You can pick it up and see all different sides of it. That's right. And another part of those 3D shapes is that instead of just vertices and sides, it also has faces. So it has some of our 2D shapes that help it make its 3D part. That's right. The faces were like the flat surface of that shape. Well, Miss Lime, should we review the 3D shapes that we learned about yesterday? I think we should. All right. So we made our anchor chart yesterday with our 3D shape, the sphere. And remember, the sphere is kind of like a beach ball. It is a big, round circle. And so just like a circle, it has 0 edges, it has 0 vertices, and it has 0 faces. Even though the outside of it looks like a circle, it doesn't have anything that it could sit on. So therefore, it couldn't stack. It can only roll because it has no faces. And then we talked about a cylinder. A cylinder is tall. Well, it's not always tall, Miss Lestico, but it was a completely rounded edge with 2 flat faces on the top, and the faces were circles. Because it had a rounded edge, we're going to say there were no edges or sides because there are none. Because of that, there are 0 vertices. At no point did it come to a point to create a vertex or vertices. But it does have 2 faces. It had those 2 flat sides or flat edges, whatever, that it could stack. But because it has that rounded edge, it can also roll. And we said a real-life example would probably be like a soda can or a water bottle or anything like that. Well, we have 3 more that we're going to learn about today. And the first one that we're going to take a look at is something you have probably seen very often. Oh, it looks like a box, Miss Lestico. What is this one called? Oh, well, this 3D shape, even though it looks like a box, we call it a cube. It is a cube. And Miss Lestico, I'm noticing something. What are you noticing? It's completely the same size on all of its sides and faces and different things like that. Oh, Miss Lime, you know what I see in every side of this shape? I know that equal sides, that 2D shape that had all of the equal sides was a square. That's what I'm noticing about these faces, Miss Lestico. Well, while Miss Lestico is drawing our cube, let's go ahead and count our edges. I can see right here, this line where the 2 faces are meeting is making this edge. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 edges. That means there are 12 parts on this cube that have this line right here, this edge where 2 faces are coming together. So, Miss Lestico, we learned that this cube has 12 edges. Wow, that is a lot of edges to put on our chart. So we went from 0 edges to 12 for our cube. Well, how many vertices does it have then? Well, a vertice, I remember, the vertices are where my edges are coming together and they're creating this point. This cube has 2 on the top, or 4 on the top and 4 on the bottom. So that means it has a total of 8 vertices. 8 vertices. Okay, so then how many faces would it have? Well, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, can't forget the bottom. 6. It has 6 faces. Wow, so we have 12 edges, 8 vertices, and 6 faces. And we know those faces are made up of squares because that's right. The equal-sided 2D shape that we see. And I will know it's a cube if all of my faces are squares.
Well, Miss Lime, does it roll?
Nope, it does not appear to roll, Miss Lestico.
Well, does it stack?
It looks like it stacks, Miss Lestico, for sure.
That's right. Well, what would be an example of this?
Well, Miss Lestico, I have a couple examples right here. We have this wooden block right here. It's a cube, and this is a huge foam dice, Miss Lestico, and this dice.
Oh, wow, so
they're
our
cubes.
dice are some real-life examples of a cube.
And sometimes I know you can get a tissue box that's a cube. You can get a whole bunch of things that are a cube. The important thing to remember is a cube has all square faces. Just like I knew a square had all equal sides, it's only a cube if it has all square faces. Because we're about to learn about a different shape, Miss Let's Go, that shares a lot of these attributes.
That's right. Well, what shape would that be, Miss Lime?
A rectangular prism.
Ooh, a rectangular prism has actually two of our 2D shapes that we learned about. We can see a rectangle as the sides, but then on the top and the bottom we have a square.
Wow, Miss Lestico, this looks very similar to a cube. I'm noticing that they looks kind of like they have the same attributes, but where the cube had all square faces, my rectangular prism, like you said, has some rectangle faces or rectangular faces and some square faces. It looks like it has 2 square faces and 4 rectangle faces, all to come together to make a rectangular prism. Now, that's kind of a big word to say, but if I just remember rectangle, I see rectangles, a rectangular prism. Prism, that's kind of a tricky word, but we're going to learn it.
That's right. So our rectangular prism, well, how many edges would that have, Miss Lime?
Well, Miss Lestico, guess what? It's the same as the cube. It has 12 edges, just like the cube, but these edges are not all of equal length.
That's right. Well, then, would it have the same number of vertices?
You betcha, Miss Lestico. It also has 8 vertices, just like the cube.
What about the faces, Miss Lime?
Guess what? 6, just like the cube.
Ooh, but instead of all of the faces being squares, what 2 2D shapes are a rectangular prism made of?
I'm seeing rectangular faces and square faces. So it has 6 faces, but some are rectangles, some are squares. Now, just like our 2D shapes that we were learning, the square and the rectangle share the same number of each attribute. However, the cube had all square faces and all equal sides. The rectangular prism has rectangle faces and square faces.
Wow, so we have 6 rectangle and square faces on this shape. Well, Miss Lime, does this shape roll?
You know what, Miss Lestico? It doesn't. I can push it, but it's not going to roll at all.
Well, what about stacking it?
It stacks. It has those flat faces, and that's what helps the shape to stack by having flat faces.
Well, where would we see a rectangular prism in real life, Miss Lime?
Well, I have this block that I see it. Oh, Miss Lestico, so many people have allergies, and we always use these tissue boxes. That's definitely a rectangular prism.
That's right.
What's another example that we use almost every single day?
Miss Lime, our iPads are kind of like a rectangular prism because they have a little bit of height, and they're a solid shape for sure.
That's right.
And so these would be a rectangular prism.
Wow, there are rectangular prisms all over. A book would be a rectangular prism.
Ooh, a box might be a rectangular prism.
A box, maybe a present.
Oh, that's true. So I'm going to pick our tissue box as our real-life example for a rectangular prism.
Oh my goodness, Miss Lestico. Some tissue boxes can be in the shape of a cube. Remember, that's when they have all square faces and all of the edges are equal sizes. Or a tissue box can be like this one and be a rectangular prism. Now, I'm noticing on this particular one, there are no square faces. That's okay. All the faces are rectangular. It's still a rectangular prism.
Wow, so far we have learned about 4 3D shapes. The sphere, the cylinder, the cube, and the rectangular prism. Well, the last shape that we're going to talk about today is another one of those prism shapes, Miss Lime. Ooh. It's a triangular prism.
Okay, a rectangular prism looked a lot like a rectangle. So a triangular prism, I kind of hear the word triangle. So, a triangular prism. It looks very similar to a rectangular prism, except it has these triangles on the end right here. So this is our triangular prism, and I'm still seeing some rectangles, but the difference here is, there are some triangles, Miss Lestica.
That's right. So how many edges would a triangular prism have, Miss Lynn?
Well, let's count. These are my edges right here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, the triangular prism has 9 edges.
Well, then how many vertices would it have?
I remember that the vertices are the points where multiple edges come together. I have 3 on this side and 3 on this side, which means, Miss Lesko, I have 6 vertices.
Oh, so 9 edges, 6 vertices. Well, what about our faces, Miss Lynn?
Well, I see here's a rectangular face, rectangular face, and then some triangle faces. Well, Miss Lestigo, that's 5 faces.
5 faces. And the 2D shapes that these faces are made of is rectangles and triangles for that triangular prism.
Sometimes you might see it with a square face, but you're pretty much only ever going to see a triangular prism with the rectangle faces and triangle faces.
Well, does this shape roll?
It can fall over, but that wasn't rolling, Miss Lestigo. No, it doesn't roll.
Stacking.
Oh, it can stack because I have this flat edge, so it can stack. And it has a little bit of a slant, but I could still stack something on it, and I can still stack that triangular prism on another shape. So it does stack.
Well, what would be an example of this that we would see in real life?
Well, Miss Lestigo, the most common triangular prism I know is something I use when I go camping. Do you know what that is?
Oh, a tent!
That's right! Most normal average tents are triangular prisms. Now, we have fancy tents nowadays that have all sorts of stuff, but a normal tent is a triangular prism. I know there's also some candy bars that are shaped like a triangular prism, but they're not that common. But if you have a Toblerone bar, that is a triangular prism.
That's right. Normally, this triangle is where you have your zipper to zip up, and then the inside is shaped like a triangular prism.
It's your turn.
That's right. On Seesaw, just like yesterday, you're going to complete the same activity you did for a sphere and a cylinder, but you're going to do a new page for your cube, your rectangular prism, and your triangular prism. That means there's 3 pages that you're going to have to complete. Make sure you are drawing examples of your shapes, telling me how many sides or edges, vertices, and faces there are, and then color in those real-life examples of each of the shapes.
We know that you can do it, and there are going to be so many shapes on that page to help you out. And, of course, when you're all done, make sure you click that green check mark.
Good luck!